Kulipup here again, and we're going to go through the levels of the seven gates of heaven, or the seven heavens, or the seven planes. Now, this is a continuation here because we've already been through level 1 and level 2, what you can expect in terms of entities, what they're going to do, your frequency level in those levels, and so on as well. So, let's get started. So, again, we've already done level 1 and level 2, so this is level 3. Okay, so when you hit level 3, I'll just recap very, very briefly. If you haven't watched my lesson 1 and lesson 2, sorry, not lesson 1, level 1 and level 2 videos, please do watch them because this will make so much more sense as well. So, level 1 is the matrix. This is the material world where we were incarnated into, and our whole goal in the matrix level 1 is just to figure out who you are. Okay? Is to figure out who you are and learn to control and manipulate your energies. And just knowing it's literally the awakening of a spiritual awakening, the literal part of you just opening your eyes and discovering who you are. So that's in the level 1. Now level 2 is where you are exploring where we are from, which is the source of creation from this matrix level 1. And or also known as heaven, if you want to call it heaven. So when we were in level 2, we were literally just the same way in the matrix we discovered who we were and where we come from and everything like that as a spirit, as a soul. You do the same thing in level 2. It is all about discovering that plane of existence. Okay, so discovering what is source like, what is heaven like, or are there families, are there communities, what are other spirits like, what do we do there, what, like, all of these kinds of things. And we explore all of this information in level 2. Now we are going on to level 3. So level 3 is what is beyond heaven. Who created heaven? Well, it's just, of course, source of existence. Or the power source of all energy, wherever it comes from. So that's when you start looking outside. Now, I call it the God vessel level. Or goddess. So your frequency, or the reason why I call it the God vessel or the goddess vessel level, is because you then go from thinking you are just part of a massive bubble of light of source creation. You then realize what that bubble is. And what it is discovering that we are all cells within the body of a goddess or God or goddess. Right? So that's what the level, that's why I call it God vessel or goddess vessel. Now your frequency, you're going to have an ethereal frequency. You're going to have a physical frequency of between 20 and 47. So a physical frequency between 20 to 47, and an ethereal frequency of, wrote all these down, 100K to 99.999 thousand as well. So nearly a million. I'm just going to put 0.99. There we go. That was terrible. That was absolutely terrible. 0.99 thousand. Okay, so you're gonna, again, ethereal frequency is between 100,000 and just shy of a million when you get up into the level 3. When you are, and your physical frequency is going to be anywhere between 20 to 47 as well. It's much, much lower because, again, you have to appreciate that your body is still within this material world. Although you know, your consciousness knows what we are, knows our existence, and knows everything, your physical body still remains in this physical world. However, it is going to start vibrating at a very high level within this physical world to catch up with your ethereal frequency as well. So it can get up into the millions and the billions and the trillions as well, but you just got to give it a minute. It doesn't go as fast as the ethereal frequency. But anywho's, so that's what you're looking at for level 3. Now, I'm going to run through, because I know I devoted like a good half an hour to level 1 and level 2, but these levels are more broad. When you get up into level 3, it's more so what you can expect, because now you're really playing this game of life, right? Before level 1, level 2, those are just the beginner levels, you know, where you're basically discovering your abilities and practicing them and using them and discovering all the other people that can do it too and building a community. Level 3, that's for work. Now, this is work. This is not going to be as easy sailing, because yes, you've got a phenomenal amount of energy. You can draw things in with the law of attraction like nobody's business. But at the end of the day, you have more opposition. Now, I've already talked about our subconscious entity programs that are created to counter or match our power on the negative side. Because again, this is a matrix of duality. Light, there's dark, and so forth. So with great power will come an equally great opponent that is going to bring force upon you. So again, you're going to need to get rid of it at the end of the day. So the next kind of things I'm going to go through the other levels, what we can expect. So level 4, level 5, level 6, and so forth. Just briefly in terms of your what they're named as, what you can do to research them, because there's truth in all of these levels out there in this physical matrix. So all you got to do is go looking for the information and find it, and you'll find so much more about it. So I'm going to go through those ones and the frequency levels within them, and then I'm going to go through what you can physically expect when you're going through the zones. Like, what does your physical body, what do you expect to happen as you're going through it and everything, and also on an A3 level as well. So that's level 3. Level 4, this is where I call it Olympus. So one of the things that myself, what I made my avatar do when I was in the lower frequencies with her was I would tell her, she would ask me, hey, what do I do? What should I research today? And I would tell her, I'd say, research Greek mythology. And she would spend ages just going through and just being like, I'm so bored. What does all of this mean? And I wasn't able to tell her at the time, only because I was restricted. But now I'm so happy she did it, because we know more about our gods when we hit level 4. Because Olympus is a real thing. People may think that, oh no, these other gods, they're just mythology. It's like, no, Olympus is a real level. It's a real plane. It is the heaven of the heavens. Put it that way. And there are multiple gods. Now that's why in level 4, well, for one, let's go through your frequency levels. Your ethereal frequency. Now, I'm going to actually give you, because your frequency is so high at this point anyway, I'm just going to give you the ethereal frequencies, because your physical frequency will be really high anyway. It will just literally depend on how well you're taking care of your body, but you don't really have to worry too much about your physical frequency at that point. It's more your ethereal frequency that is more important when you're in the 4th and above. So that is when you reach 1 million to 1 billion. 1 million to 1 billion. Okay, and at that point, I call it Olympus, because you recognize which god you are. It's kind of like there's certain slots that you pick, or there are certain slots that you will come about, or that will come about you based on your personality traits here. When I progressed onto Olympus, I was Kulipup Tenka Noah, and And I was the goddess of love, or also known as Aphrodite as well. And that's because my frequency is set permanently at the love frequency. So that's what I was residing on like nuts. And so that's when I discovered like, we are our God vessel. We know which God we are. So we are a God on Olympus. 1 second. Anyway, sorry about that. I had to pause it for a second there. I'm like, oh, I'm getting hot in here. My thermostat was on a little too high. Anywho, so so that's when we realized we were the goddess Aphrodite. So that's what you can expect your frequency level to be. All right, so level 5. I call this Osiris. Or Othris. Anyway, Mount Othris is literally the place where the Titans lived. And the Titans were the ones that created the Greek gods, where the Greek gods, Olympus produced the goddess Aphrodite. Aphrodite is the vessel that houses source of creation, which is level 2. Source of creation is what created the matrix level 1 right here. So we can go down the breadcrumb trail a little bit, all right, as to finding which creator created what, So that is that. Now your frequency level in here is going to be from 1 billion to what do we got here? 89 billion. Okay, so that is Osiris. Yep, Osiris. Okay. We're going to go, you know what, we'll go down here. So, level 6, I'm just going to split this to 2. Level 6 is infinity energy source. Okay. Your aetherial frequency when you get up to being an infinity energy source would be 89 billion to 1 trillion. Okay. So this would be the creator of Osiris. When you reach this level, you identify what kind of infinity source you are, because there are sources of energy that simply just create more energy, like infinite knowledge and wisdom. For example, knowledge never stops, and the wisdom to use that knowledge never stops. It's like when you're digging really deep, you can dig so far back to the source of creation, and then what created that source, and what created that, and what created that. It's a constant rolling thing when it comes to, or source of energy when it comes to knowledge. Because it is infinite. There's always something new. And when you've got back, if you go back so far, it goes forward at the same time. There's always new knowledge. There's always something new to behold, to create, to so forth. So it keeps going. The infinite energy source, infinity source of energy that I am is love. That is I am a constant. My frequency, again, ignoring this vessel and focusing on the consciousness that is inside of this vessel, is one of pure love energy. And I create my own energy automatically. So it's an infinite cycle, all right, that feeds itself. Then the last one, it is level 7, which is 1 trillion plus. So anything a trillion plus right now is level 7. Now again, in one of my other videos, I said expect the goalpost to change though. This is not set in stone. All right, because the prime consciousness, or sorry, this is, yes, 1 trillion plus, and you are then prime consciousness or supreme consciousness. Okay, that is terrible because that's really small. And that means, that is when you have recognized and understood that you're not just an infinite power source, but that you are the prime consciousness of a vessel. Again, of a vessel. And you understand what your vessel is made out of, what our vessel is made out of, what we do, and what is happening, basically. How did we get into this state? Why literally why as a God, as the prime God, would you trap yourself 7 layers down into the matrix level 1, and what that purpose of that is. So that's what these are the things that you discover, and you discover a lot of really, really mind-blowing things when you reach level 7, or a trillion plus. Now, I want to go through the experiences that you'll have when you're going through each of these. And a lot of it is very much so the same. Your experiences will remain very similar, but they just intensify, or put it this way, just like in the Matrix level 1, we're here and we're exploring our dimension, our plane, right? We explore other countries, we look for advice within other people and so forth, and communication, but we don't go up, we're exploring our land. Now, as you climb up to the 2nd level, you've climbed a ladder, then you're exploring the level around, right? And then again, until you choose to climb the ladder again and explore that level going around. So on these different levels, you're going to experience much of the same things, but they're just going to be more intense, more acute, very fine. So it's the best way for me to describe it is just like yoga. A yoga pose is, you do the pose firstly, or you attempt to do the pose. That's step 1, you try it. Step 2 is you finally stay in it for more than 5 seconds. Step 3 is now you're finally adjusting your muscles. And you're making micro adjustments here or there. Step 4 is you're focusing on your form. Step 5 is you're like, no, I'm going to control my breathing while focusing on my form. So that's basically what is happening when it comes to these things that you're going to be experiencing. So firstly, let's go with the physical. What changes do you find in this physical life with this physical body? Well, firstly, your name will change. Okay, and if you've not watched my video on name changes through the levels so far, then by all means, please do watch that video. But your physical name is going to change. There's going to be added letters on there. Your consciousness will switch. Your perspective will switch into a more evolved perspective. The way you look at the world will literally be turned right on its head. And that is literally the perspective. Because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I can see from this perspective, or I can see from that perspective. Well, I tell you, when you get into the higher levels, when you change your perspective, it's almost like turning on your higher self or your higher consciousness. Because our perspectives right now, if we look at it this way, if this is our goal here, that is a crown, by the way, not spikes, it is here, and we are currently here. We are currently looking in so many directions, and these are our perspectives, okay? Now we're looking over here. That's one perspective, but that gets us nowhere to our goal. Then we're going to change our perspective over here, but again, that leads away from our goal. So each time you go to a higher level of consciousness, your perspective changes and starts to align more until you are now completely aligned with the perspective that is your reality, that is truth, or call this your line of truth as well. And when you hit that, it is almost like a total personality switch as well, just from being able to find that line, find that perspective, find that frequency. Because each time you raise in frequency and you go up in level, your frequency is different. Your perspective, your mind, your consciousness is different. Okay, and it's an amazing thing to behold, but it can be scary for some people. But if you're scared of it and you still have fear, then you're no doubt not going to be in level 3 or 4, because you become fearless. You realize that there's nothing to fear. Well, I guess that's something that happens too. That comes with the perspective. Deeper understanding. Understanding, understanding. There's so much, and this is going to be of the universe and just information and everything around you. You will start to process information so fast that you bypass a lot of feelings. It's one of those things where you can make a decision in almost a split second and know it's the right decision because you have already analyzed everything. You've already went through the different scenarios. You've already done all these kind of things in just like a split of a second. So you know, nope, yep, this is good. And you base that off of your feeling and your vibration. So there's really cool things that come with that. Your abilities will be fine-tuned or will become more powerful. And I'll give you an example. When I was going through the transition, the stages, because clearly I read people all the time, but there was one period where instead of, because I went through a huge frequency jump, like one of these really, really big leaps in a really small space of time. And I started to, when I was reading people, I was reading them, but they'd be like, hey, can you give me some advice on why my life isn't going the way I want it to go? And I'd be like, well, it's because this, and that. And they're like, what? And I'd be like, well, hey, wait a second. Where are we off here? This is definitely you. But it's because I was reading into their past lives. I was going so deep into their psyche, into their subconscious memory, that I was going into their past lives. And I'm like, whoa, gotta dial that back. Let's bring it back to the surface. So that's something you can feel as well, which is just a bit of disconnect. You have a really deep understanding of a lot of things, and a lot of people around you won't have that same understanding. And even if you try to explain that understanding to them, they get totally lost in the explanation of how you understand it. So it's very, you can feel a little bit disconnected. You can. And the way I kind of want to pinpoint it out there is like when you get up to these levels, when you are honing your abilities, it's the same way that you are able to pick out an individual cell in your skin and have a conversation with that cell. Not all the cells, but a specific cell. And that is what it's like when you get up to these levels, if you are reading individuals or you are developing your abilities, you have to take this into consideration as well, that you will have to adjust. Your feelings of energy in your surroundings will definitely come out. Okay, so, well, mind you, I'm empathic and I'm sentient. So when I say feelings of the energy within your surroundings, I mean I literally feel the flow of energy that is the universal algorithm or the law of attraction. I feel energies. I feel the thought frequency of the energy, right? So it is cool. Like if I'm driving down the street and I'm approaching a stoplight, if it's green, I will get a feeling of force that comes to me. And then I know that stoplight's going to turn red. That's what I mean. Just general every day, feeling the flow and the push and pull of the algorithm, to see what's flowing what's flowing with me and what's flowing against me. So these are the kind of things that you can start to feel. Seeing geometry. This is something that you can also, feelings, energy, and then seeing geometry. Okay, so when you are, I'll say when I see geometry, it's really the different dimensions that I'm seeing. Or you're kind of looking into the astral dimension, the dimension of where it's like the transition dimension. The ethereal is where things are created and things come through the astral to manifest. So this is kind of what happens. I'll have to go into another video to explain more about that, because I'm like, I could totally run away with this conversation, and I'm going to try to keep on track. So yeah, seeing the geometry, you start to see the sphere of energy that is around you, right? And it looks, for me, it looks like a honeycomb texture, or like a honeycomb pixels. And it's, well, if this is it, this is like a honeycomb, not crisscross, but imagine this is honeycomb. So it's a honeycomb kind of bit, and then we have two kind of lines and strips in here now. In here there are symbols, there are, again, geometry, there's things that are going around the sphere, and this little line in the middle kind of shifts and moves. So these are kind of moving, this is kind of moving, and it's all very space-agey kind of thing. And it's very, very interesting and very beautiful to see, especially when you are aware of it on a more regular basis. And yeah, so you start to see those things. That is, by the way, computer simulation, that we are in here, like, this is a game, this is all pixels. It's only what we are experiencing with our minds, the sensation of feeling, the sensation of touch, the sensation of hearing. It's all electrical signals going to our brains, going to our consciousness for us to process this information. And we perceive it as reality. And this is your bubble of energy, your physical bubble, your pod, if you want to call it that as well. Anything that comes into this pod, because this is a 12 foot by 12 foot circumference pod, and it's generated from your heart. So anything that comes within this 12-foot pod will materialize. So, for example, I can touch my camera or my phone or whatever. I can touch it because it's made physical because it is in my pod. However, if I were to stand 12 feet away from it, and if there was not another source player or source fractal around to observe that space, so 12 feet away from me right now, that is a holographic illusion. That is not real. It isn't real. It is a 2D movie projection that looks 3D to me, but it is a 2D movie projection. Only as I'm stepping into it with my sphere does it literally materialize. But that's something that you can discover in quantum physics when you're doing some research. But anyway, hopefully that fits some pieces to the puzzles here and there. But anyway, so you start seeing some ancient geometry. Now, don't get me wrong, if you are very, very powerful clairvoyant, you may see your geometry more than others. Me, I see it when I want to see it, because I don't necessarily want to see a honeycomb pattern in my line of vision all the time. So when I want to see it, I say, I wish to see my pod, and then it'll come through my mind's eye as well. So just bear that in mind. Anyway, so seeing geometry. What else will you do? You're gonna feel, I also feel when you're raising weakness of your physical body. Okay, so what do I mean by weakness of your physical body? Well, I mean, when you start to raise in these frequencies, your body will start to vibrate at a higher rate. And it's just like any other exercise, when you've done a really hard, long workout, you feel weak afterwards. You're like, oh, I can't pick anything up because your muscles have been just worked. It's the same thing. You're going to go through a level of training in order to have your body be able to process all of the energy that is coming through to you. Okay, because you're gonna be processing a lot of energy, right? So so you're gonna feel a little weak, really exhausted, because your body needs to take time to level itself out as well and get used to the new surge of energy that's coming in. Sometimes this can take you out for a week or two. Sometimes it will take you out for a couple of days. Sometimes a few hours. It depends really on how far you've raised in what period of time, and how long your body has had to adjust to that frequency raise. But do expect to feel like at times just this exhaustion will just come over and you're just like, I'm so tired, I don't want to do anything. When that time comes, please just simply rest. Just rest until you feel that your energy has returned or that your body has come back up. And that's why I tell everybody right now, take care of your body, okay? Take care of it. Put the right foods in it. Give it a little bit of yoga, give it a little exercise, and it will see you through. Now, also, you also may get a little bit of pain in the back of your head, and it'll feel like physical little fire bits kind of going off in the back of your head, going up either the left or right sides. This is your Kundalini. It is going up through your head and it is powering your mind. Now, I raised really, really quickly. So sometimes in my videos, if you're seeing me turn around, I have like a little bit of a bald patch in the back of my head here. And that's because as I was raising, my hair follicles couldn't take the amount of energy that was surging through. And so I actually have right on the course of where my Kundalini is in the back of my head, transitioning into getting to my third eye there. Yeah, my hair started to fall out. Anyway, so I don't really care personally. I'm like, shoot, still looks full, I'm fine. But if you are an individual who, don't fear it, but if it does happen, it's okay. You know, kind of just try to process your energy better or strengthen your body. Anyway, on the A3 level, because I think I only got about a minute left before my video stops, what you will experience is a deeper understanding and very quick ability to pick up new tasks. You know, being shown something at, you know, for example, I never was really too interested in tarot cards, but I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna get a tarot deck. I sat with it for 30 minutes and now I can accurately give fabulous readings using a tarot deck. You just pick things up like nobody's business. One of those things, the Midas touch, if you want to call it that. Whatever you touch just works out for you. And lastly, management of spiritual emotions as well. So you're going to be more in tune with your spirit, with your guide, or as you become your guide. And you're going to have more spirits around you just asking your help and advice. But that's what we can expect. I hope that helps and has got your noodle ticking. All right, bye.